Hello, welcome to this week's Forex Review here at XM.com. I'm Rafi Barajan, currency analyst, and here with me is our chief economist, Michalis Sorenjadis. So, Michalis, elections were once again at the forefront of currency markets. We had elections both in Germany and in New Zealand, and neither of them were conclusive. So, what happened and what was the impact on the respective currencies?
I think it's very interesting that the common theme for the two worst performing currencies this week, the euro and the New Zealand dollar, are the fact that they had elections that did not lead to the immediate formation of a government. A government will be formed soon, we hope, but there are some uncertainties on what's going to happen, what the outcome is going to be. So this political uncertainty, especially for the euro, because in the eurozone we had seen some victories by anti-populist forces, let's say, in France and the Netherlands, and we thought that populism had been put to rest for now, but the strong showing of the far-right Alternative for Deutschland party in Germany that got a pretty high percentage in the elections shook things up a little bit, and also the previous coalition partner of Chancellor Merkel is going to be in the opposition. So she's going to join two other smaller parties that may impose some limits on her flexibility, and particularly with respect to her European agenda. So this is making the euro a little bit jittery, and the same can be said for the Kiwi. We also have some uncertainty as to what exact combination and what is going to be the new coalition out of these elections.
And we saw the euro hitting 6-week lows and the New Zealand dollar 3-week lows. In contrast, though, we saw the US dollar reaching multi-week highs. We had a number of Fed speakers making public appearances this week, the highlight of which was, of course, Janet Yellen, but we also had some political developments as well, which impacted the dollar. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think that the focus right now is on the lower taxes, on a tax plan by the administration, by President Trump. Lower taxes were a centerpiece of his campaign, so now we have to see how this is going to be implemented. At first there was a bit of excitement both in the dollar and in equity markets with respect to the prospects for lower taxes, but we see a bit more skepticism as the week progressed, because passing things through Congress, especially with Trump's legislative agenda, we didn't see so much success. It was also interesting, I think, for monetary policy. We had Chair Yellen. She seems to be ready to hike rates again by the end of the year, so this was also a dollar positive. The market is not so sure that the Fed is going to follow up with 3 rate increases next year. It actually believes that there's only going to be 1 additional increase next year, and that's it. And I think that it's very interesting to check what's going to happen with inflation, because some Fed governors expressed reservations with respect to if inflation stays low, then it will be a bit more difficult for them to raise interest rates. But that's a big if. We're going to have to see how the economic data plays out until the end of the year. So a bit of uncertainty. We had strong dollar, but there was also some uncertainty. And I think another currency that had some developments and some sharp moves was the British pound this week. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the British currency, Rafi?
That's right. We saw the pound initially consolidating a little bit this week following last week's 15-month highs. The focus was on, of course, the 4th round of those Brexit negotiations, and coming after Theresa May's speech in Florence in Italy last week. Michel Barnier said that had added some new dynamics to the talks, but although he did say that the talks were constructive, he nevertheless said that not sufficient progress had been made for the talks to move on to the trade, to the phase of negotiating the post-Brexit trade relationship. David Davis, the UK Brexit Secretary, was a little bit more optimistic. He said that they made considerable progress, and we saw the pound rising a little bit after that press conference yesterday between the two chief negotiators. The pound had hit a two-week low against the dollar. It did manage to climb back about 1.34 level. We also had the Bank of England Governor Mark Carney making several speeches this week. He said that monetary policy alone cannot mitigate the impact of negative impact of Brexit, but he did give his clearest signal yet, despite slowing UK economy, that rates will be rising in the near term in the UK.
Okay, that's interesting, and we have to keep in mind that the dollar was also strong when we're considering a pound-dollar exchange rate. And finally, why don't you tell us what is up next week? What should we watch out for?
So next week the focus will be the Reserve Bank of Australia's monetary policy meeting, along with the non-farm payrolls in the United States. Other key data out of the US next week will include the ISM manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMIs. We're also going to have jobs reports out of Canada, UK PMIs. All three PMIs will be out in the UK for September, and we're going to have out of Japan the Tankan's quarterly, Bank of Japan's quarterly Tankan survey.
So a lot of business confidence surveys next week. Thank you very much, Rafi. Thank you very much for watching also, and have a great day.